We have Celtic Guardian back at it again. Stun, Cyber Dragons. I'm not gonna lie, things are starting to look a lot better. Make sure you guys smash the crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. Did you all miss Celtic Guardian Turbo? Because this deck is so cool to see. This is where you bulk down on your Celtic Guardians and then you literally just protect them, honestly. And then you do have things like the Earth Barrier statue in here, giving you that full extra defense that you need to see. And also, a lot of decks still can't play around the Earth Barrier statue. There's, the Fire Barrier statue's like the worst right now. Wind is locked up in a dungeon somewhere, never to get out. So, what we're dealing with right now is just, hey, essentially a slow stun control deck with options to slow down your opponent. And once again, for a localized event, for what this duels was telling me, the amount of people that were just surprised when he, would duality into a Celtic Guardian, and they were just like, what's going on here? It amazes me that things like this are so easy to be able to use to your advantage. Compulse being one of those key cards, generic summon limit, good stuff, helping you out with your day is also kind of funny. This also does kind of prove like how stupid summon limit as a card can actually be. If you're watching a deck like this functionally be able to obliterate a metagame. And I also see, of course, we do get the chance to play some skill drain action here. You got to remember, skill drain, some scapegoats for the little extensions, because, being able to, hey, look, I can make earth monsters. Oh, look, a Mrs. Radiant touchdown. Oh, suddenly, we're getting an extra attack boost here on the field. There's a lot to kind of think about out here with the little ideas that you can do. I'm happy to see Celtic Guardian actually returning back to the meta here and being a we're going to say an actual semi-viable deck. Like, you take your poison with this sort of deck, but this is so cool. Shout out to Moon Mirror Shield here, allowing these really stupid ideas to actually work. So fun. Speaking of fun ideas here, we do have stun for you today. Now, you've seen a lot of stun variants kind of floating around out here and people testing the waters with some of these ideas. One of those things that's being chosen to see play here is, yes, we are actually playing the Armory Call here. Armory Call being able to, beam out that equip card from your deck, aka the Moon Mirror Shield, and blast your opponent on the passive is actually pretty good. And they're just going to stare at you and be like, what is going on here? Why are you playing this? Another one of our fun little tech choices here is we are playing the Scrap Iron Scarecrow. Being able to have your opponent attack into your monster thinking that they've finally gotten out over it. You blast them with the Scrap Iron Scarecrow, this thing resets it every single turn on the passive. Now your opponent's going to have to deal with this, and that is actually hilarious. I do see that this build also chose to play skill drains here. I do like the idea of having skill drains be a little bit more available for you. Being able to have that defensive value is actually quite good. And of course, I see we're playing a secret village down here for Jaugen. I guess we've really gotten to the point in the meta here where I can slow roll something like a Jaugen, laugh at my opponent, and Secret Village lock them so they struggle even more with trying to out this. Also, double Fenrir is actually fine. Being able to deploy a Fenrir before you set up something along the lines of one of your stun monsters just gives you the ability to pressure even harder. I also see, hey, we're also playing double Necro Valley in here as well. Don't underestimate this card. Weird tech choices, I suppose. The one Grave of the Super Ancient Organism, I would have probably wanted to consider a few more. And 2 copies of the Imperial Iron Wall. Definitely some value to be had along the way here for this stuff. But there's so many innovation lines you can kind of play in terms of your tech choices for a deck like this. You kind of pick your poison and figure out which path you want to go down. Oh, hi Cyber Dragons. So, the first thing I want to tell you is I'm always happy to see Cyber Dragons performing out here. There are so many different, methods and tech choices to do with this. How many cores do we want to go down? How many hertz? What's the optimal number? I'll tell you the most optimized thing that you should be doing with this deck is playing Triple Clockwork Knight, because this card is the actual nuts for this deck. Allowing any literal Cyber Dragon monster in the world to contact up through an entire field is just actually the nuts. This is one of the things that Cyber Dragons needed, and they actually got it, alright? contact fusion, being able to pseudo swap up an entire field is everything that you want. I also see that most of these builds have been kind of pushing away from maximizing on machine dupes. As much as, we all look at machine dupe, we're like, oh, this card's so good, I want to play 3 of it. Inherently, in some matchups, it's just really not worth exploring the maximum numbers for. 2, I think, is fine. I also like the fact that this build is still doing the triple duality. We've definitely learned that duality is an insane card, being able to warp through your fusions, have your opponent stare at you and go, what in the world is going on? And for the OTK factor, this build is playing 1 copy of Power Bond, which is fine. Down here in your side deck, you do see we are playing the triple delta with the 1 gamma for defensive purposes, and Cyber Dragons are pulling a copy out of Tenpai Dragon's book here, where you're using Heat Wave. So your opponent's like, oh, you're playing, going second deck. We're going to go ahead and we're going to, make, you're going first, loser. And it's like, well, not necessarily, buddy. We're going to use Heat Wave here to kind of, equalize the unfairness of this game and make your decision an absolutely terrible one. And it's absolutely hilarious. I guess that's your current Cyber Dragon innovations. Cool stuff. Next up here, we have hi, Dark Barrier Statue. We have another deck out here that's taking advantage of its respected Barrier Statue, because that's just what you're seeing right now. Also, the fact that this is a Fiend monster means that, you can drop this to the graveyard somewhere along the way, and you can cheese revive it with, some of your cute little Chimera things out here. You got to remember, during your opponent's turn, banish this card from graveyard, target one of your banished Fiend, Illusion, or Beast monsters, and special summon it. So, guess what? You can suddenly now revive your Barrier Statue. We've seen this time and time again. It definitely is the main way to go about this. I also see that this duelist is trying to get a little bit cute out here. We're playing the White Hex Sealed Fusion, trying to cheese out some of these other options down here along the way. You gotta love your fusion subbers. Alright, I also see, hey, we're playing Master Tau in here. Okay. Maximizing on the triple Brand Fusion, the triple Chimera Fusions, that's all pretty standard stuff. This build also opted to play DD Crows in its main deck, which is kind of interesting. We're doing the double Baphomet, so we are shaving down some of the numbers here to try to optimize the deck a little bit more and make sure, you can have those key ratios ready to go for when you're ready to play. Okay, I see we're also playing only 1 tack talents in the main. This build also chose to play triple Book of Moon for some defensive options, which I don't necessarily disagree with this. One of the things that Chimera needs to be able to do is try to control a field in the best way it can, and if it cannot control those fields, that's where you're going to see this deck have its issues, and honestly, that's a problem. Like, Chimera, I do want to see how this deck will evolve with the next set. I'm hoping we see something a little bit more developable along the way, but okay. Also having Super Polys pushed down to the side. Okay. And our last list here today. Wow. Basic Sword Soul. First of all, Old Reliable has proven to us that Sword Soul can still be a consistent monster when it needs to be. It's one of those things when you look at the meta, you're like, wow, what can we do? What can our tech choices be? We're just playing the 2 Heavenly Dragon cycle in this. We're not doing the other shenanigans. You're obviously maximizing on triple Ecclesia. You're still doing the double Tai. Nothing's changed there. You're doing the 1 standard Synthana. Double Vishuddha, I think, is fine. You're also optimized at 41. You're playing the 1 copy of Black. I mean, you can have builds that are trying to play triple Vishuddha. You can play double Synthana if you want. You can optimize with double Blackout. You might be pushing 42, 43 cards, but then you're hurting your consistency when it comes to Sword Soul out here. Also, this build is actually choosing to play double Monk of the Tenyi instead of the triple that we've seen, and we also see this build is actually playing a Typhon in here as well. So keep in mind out here, basically, this deck, it does massively want to do Synchro Place, and that's it. But there are some points that you just have to rely on the Typhon to board break and get the game back to your next turn so you can actually do your thing. And that's like the value of this card. So that's your standard Sword Soul. Once again, not a lot to say about this. The deck does continue to deliver on the consistency front, and I think that's a good thing, all right? Old Reliable is always going to be a good thing. So what do you guys think about these decks? I am enjoying what I'm seeing here, so please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here in the day, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.